What you manifest in your mind, you can bring to reality.
Spoil the Beans is a movie podcast hosted by Deric, Poston, and Ehsan, Ahmad. Hopefully I pronounced their names correctly. Was recommended this show by Joel Jimenez, mostly sorry. He shouted it out on Kill Tony at least once, and then again recently on Brothers in Cursive, which is a Death Squad podcast. And I'm always down to check out movie podcasts. I, of course, love movies, as I'm sure you know. I love watching and reviewing movies. And I also love comedy. So when you put those together, I enjoy it. And Spoil the Beans, the format of the show is very similar, actually, to The Dollop, where Dave Anthony reads a story from American history to Gareth Reynolds. And Gareth doesn't know anything about the story and just reacts to this crazy story. So in that kind of vein of formatting, Deric recaps or spoils a classic film, classic in quotations, just a well-known movie, to his friend Ehsan, who has never seen the movie. So it's got that dynamic. Deric is amazing, by the way, at just first charismatic as shit, but just amazing at recapping these movies. So when I first heard about the podcast, I went, looked him up, and downloaded I downloaded probably like 10 to 20 episodes of movies that were like just kind of movies that I really enjoyed, movies that I would enjoy listening to a recap of, a discussion of. So Deric just breaks down the entire movie, right, with all of the charisma and a lot of acting, just really, really paints a picture, putting me back into that movie while just listening to him talk about it. And then Ehsan just kind of reacting to the reality. Of course, now let me get into the formatting of the show. Aside from, Ehsan not knowing what the movie is about, they start the episode. Well, actually, they don't start the episode here. They start the episode by Ehsan recapping the movie from last episode after he actually goes to see it. And then after that, then he tries to, then they move on to the movie that is going to be featured in the episode. And Ehsan tries to explain to Deric what he thinks the movie is going to be about, right? Trying to see how close he comes to predicting what the movie is going to be about, just from what he may have gotten through osmosis, as a lot of these movies are popular in our culture. Sometimes those things will seep into just people's general knowledge without ever having to have watched the movie in general. And sometimes he's close, sometimes he's far off. But it's a fun way to kind of lead into the podcast about this movie. And then after he tries to predict, then Deric leads into describing the movie and talking about the movie. Because I downloaded a bunch of episodes of movies that I wanted, there's one piece of advice, which I'm sure they've heard many times. There's one thing that I would change in the formatting of this show. And I understand why they do it the way they do it. But I think every show should have, from start to finish, only be about the movie that they're talking about. How the show starts off, where Ehsan's recapping his experience finally having watched the movie that they talked about on the previous episode, doesn't fit, especially if you're somebody that's new getting into the show, and you maybe start off by downloading all of the movies that you have seen, that you want to hear them talk about. I literally skipped the first part of every episode because I didn't listen to these episodes in order. So when he's at the beginning of an episode, he's talking about a previous podcast episode that I didn't even listen to yet. So it doesn't fit at all. But it's definitely something I want to hear. Like it's like logistically, the production of the show would be a little bit more difficult. I mean, they would have to record all their audio of the majority of the episode, record all of that, then hold on to it until Ehsan watches the movie, and then record his recap, package that all together, and then put it out as an episode. And I just think it would lend itself to, I mean, you're creating evergreen content. You're creating stuff where people can go back and check out, listen to an episode based on a movie, just, from top to bottom, and not have to skip. Like, I get, like, having a reason for people to come back next week to see what Ehsan thinks of the movie that he just got spoiled. But I think that should just all be packaged. And if it's all in one episode, then they could throw, like right now, how it's formatted, they do, he recaps the previous movie after he watched it. And then I think they do their dates, because they're both stand-up comedians. They go on tour with Brendan Schaub a lot. I think they may work on The King and the Sting also, that podcast with Theo Vaughn. But they do all their dates and their promotion, and then they get into the recap of, or then they get into Ehsan's prediction of the movie, and then they get into the actual breakdown of the movie itself. But then they could have another break, like after Deric goes through telling beat by beat what the movie they're talking about, like, say, for instance, they're talking about The Cable Guy, which is the first episode I listened to. After you listen to Deric break down The Cable Guy, then you can have another break. I mean, I don't think they have sponsors yet, but when you do, you could put in, another mid-roll or have a post-roll or whatever. It's another space that you could throw in another sponsor. And then you have the conclusion, because everybody's going to want to stick around and listen to what Ehsan thinks of the movie that was just recapped in the same episode. They don't want to have to go to and download another episode just to listen to Ehsan's recap of a movie that was just spoiled. That would be the only thing I would change. I love the show, by the way. I'm addicted to the show. And sometimes, just like The Dollop, they'll do a reverse spoilers, where Ehsan will recap a movie that Deric has never seen, which most recently, the most recent episode as of me recording this, is LA Confidential, in which case Ehsan does recap that movie for Deric. But yeah, that would be the only thing I would say. The only piece of advice, and I'm sure, probably Brendan Schaub gave him the advice to do it the way they're doing it, or somebody, because it's a good way to kind of get people to come back for more. But if you're creating a product that is an evergreen product, you're not doing like, a lot of podcasts where once they're like if it was, say, an MMA recap, right? You're not going to go back and check out MMA recap stuff like down like months ago. Like, I'm not going back 2 years ago to listen to Anik and Florian podcast episodes, But with this one, like, I would literally re-listen to episodes if they were all packaged together. I mean, I'll probably do it anyway, but I would get it more out of it. I wouldn't be skipping through the beginning of the episode to get to them talking about the movie that's featured for that episode. But other than that, I love it. So if you're into movies, you're into comedy podcasts, you want to, it's a fun kind of format for a show to kind of explain a movie, recap a movie to somebody who has never seen it. So I love it. I love it from top to bottom. I think they're both great. I think they're both hilarious. That would be my only issue, how they package it. But other than that, it's amazing. So go check it out. Spoil the Beans, everywhere you find podcasts. I think they also do the video version of the show on YouTube, so you can check that out there. But yeah, check it out. And they call their fans beaners, which I think is kind of funny. You know, a little bit. We're at a time now where that's gonna get not gonna work, I think, but I don't care. It's fun. So go check out the show. Spoil the Beans. New episodes of this show, The Ray Taylor Show, come out every single day. Subscribe on IGTV, YouTube, and everywhere else podcasts are found. Go buy my artwork over at inspireddisorder.com and save 25% when you use coupon code RTS. Follow me on social media at Ray Taylor. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Peace out.